If you're uncoordinated like I am, wear your stupid helmet.
Yeah.
Alright. Come on. So now, some of you might have noticed that our uploads to the channel have slowed down a bit over the past few months. Well, a little over a week ago, Julie and I had planned to kind of make an explainer video, tell you guys all about like what's been going on with us here in the van, and we were going to do it all while having like a fun day, a break day, where we were gonna try to go swimming and fishing and skating, but what happened, Julie?
I knocked myself out.
A beaver chewed this down, guys. Rock, get Rocky. Oh, Rock. So what ended up happening was we did make it to the skate park, and we were probably, practicing for a half hour. And Julie was actually doing pretty good, you know? She had her confidence from learning how to ollie the 2 weeks prior. Yeah, that was it. The last time we went to the skate park, she was doing kick turns on a bank, and so she went back to that and was kind of like getting them one after the other. She had like something click, and so she was being able to like turn really, really well. And she was practicing on a 2-foot, and then decided to go try drop-ins. And she was trying, but leaning a little too far back. She wasn't like fully committing. But, this little girl walks up and she's like, oh, are you practicing? And Julie's like, yeah. And the little girl says that,
She's probably like 8 years old.
Yeah, 8 years old. She's like, I can do what you're doing. And Julie's like, well, you're probably a better skater than I am. And then right there, she really went for it and put way too much weight. She got wheel bite, which is where your wheel touches your board and almost acts like a brake, and went forward and didn't catch herself at all.
And I really don't remember any part of that until I woke up in the ambulance.
Got one. Look at that first cast. So when Julie first fell, I thought, oh, she's gonna be sore. She's gonna have a bad like shoulder and hip bruise, but it wasn't like a crazy fall that I hadn't seen before. Then I realized she wasn't getting up and was unconscious. So I quickly jumped down and like tried to rouse her, and she wasn't getting up, and that's when she started to have a seizure. So I was just holding her head up, making sure she wasn't gonna like hit it on the ground, and I was like asking for help for anybody in the skate park, and it was mainly just kids, and they didn't know what to do. And luckily there was one other guy who was about my age who was able to go run and grab my water when I told him where it was, and then he gave me his phone, and we called 911, and I splashed her with water, and when I splashed her, she quit seizing, but she had a seizure for about a full minute by that point. But then she started to calm down, and I was on the phone, and they said, put her on her back, check if there's any like bleeding or anything like that. Ambulance is on the way. And so her eyes are like wide open, and she's not responsive, and she's kind of like snoring at that point. And I saw on her right ear there was blood, and at first I thought, oh, maybe she just like clipped her ear, or her lobe, but it wasn't. It was coming out of her ear. But by that point, the ambulance was already like there, coming around the corner with the fire truck, and their sirens were going, and like as those sirens were going, she started to come to, but she was just crying like profusely and couldn't talk. The medics just come running over with a stretcher and immediately start asking her a bunch of questions, and she can't answer any of them. And so I'm answering them as best I can, and then they're like, okay, you got to clear out of the way. We got to put her on a stretcher and get her into our ambulance. And so they did that. And so like in total, it was probably like 2 minutes from when she hit her head to the time she was in the ambulance. Rock, what are you doing?
Being brave.
How are you gonna turn around? Oh, I got it.
Guys. Waking up in the ambulance was weird because I got the feeling that I had already been awake because people were talking to me, but I had no idea why or, you know, where I was or what happened. And there was just a lot going on, you know. People were touching me and asking me questions, and I realized that I was crying. I could feel tears, and I didn't know why I was crying. But I do remember like looking over, and then Ben's face was there. And I was like, okay, there's Ben's face. And he was kind of smiling, I think. They were asking me questions like, I think, who's the president? What year is it? How old was I? I didn't know my age. It felt kind of like we were filming a movie, and I was an actor. And then people were looking at me like to say my lines, and I wasn't saying my lines. And everyone was like, you know, come on, let's go, let's do it. You know this, say your lines. And like, I had no idea what was going on. And so I just couldn't stop crying. And then I think we took off.
So I'm in a panic. Julie just knocked herself out. I know the exposure's all over the place. I have to follow the ambulance now to the hospital. And I need to quit talking on the phone and driving. Okay, I'll talk later. So the rest of the day was kind of a blur. I followed the ambulance to the nearest hospital, which was about 8 minutes away, and they took her in and got a CT scan along with some x-rays, and the x-rays came back fine. She didn't have any broken bones or anything like that, just a lot of bruising. And then the CT scan showed she actually had fractured both sides of her skull, and there were little air bubbles on both sides of the head, as well as a brain bleed, and there was still blood coming out of her ear that they weren't too sure why it was happening, because they didn't have a neuro specialist on staff. So, oops. While we were at the hospital and my adrenaline was still like super pumping, I was definitely quizzing Julie to see how much she remembered, and she was able to remember like right up to the fall when that little girl was talking to her. Because they didn't quite know what was going on with her ear, and they didn't have a neuro specialist on staff, just somebody on the phone, they thought it'd be best to transfer her to a hospital that had one. They transferred her to one that was about like an hour away, and by that point my mom and aunt had met up with me there to like take the dogs, and then my mom came with me to follow the ambulance with Julie in it, who was standing behind the camera and probably could talk about the ambulance ride. Do you remember anything about the ride?
I remember that there was a male driver and a female like EMT girl in the back with me.
Yeah.
But once we got in, she sat like behind me, and I was strapped in and I couldn't move, so I couldn't see anything. So it was almost like she wasn't even there. And she didn't talk to me the whole time. It was just quiet. So I think I fell asleep most of the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where do you want me to go with this?
We're gonna go do a puzzle. This is where we're gonna go. We're gonna do a cat puzzle. What? It came with a cat? Who are you? Who are you? Hey. You don't like that cat, do you? No. 2 weeks ago, we found this little guy in a tree. I went and grabbed him and he bit the shit out of me. But now he's here and he's a total terror. And we don't know what to do with him. We're still figuring that out. But if he stays, we're thinking of calling him Scrandle. So once my mom and I got to this hospital they transferred her to, she was already in there in her new room, and they said they were gonna take her for another CT scan. When we finally got to her, she kind of like told us what had happened, right? They gave you some morphine. You were definitely awake, you know, like you were way more awake at that point. But you were more concerned about your ear, right? So you're doing better. You're smiling a little bit. She's all morphined up. Let me see your ear. Yeah.
It felt like when you go swimming in the pool, you know, and you get kind of waterlogged and then you kind of like jump on one side and the water dribbles out. And they didn't want to clean anything up because they wanted to watch what would happen.
Right.
So they left it all dry and still oozing.
Yeah, because the concern was if what was seeping out was like spinal fluid or cerebral,
like brain fluid.
Right. Then there's a possibility that they'd have to then do surgery in order to like seal the fracture so there was no more leaking. But they didn't want to like jump the gun and say that's what it is. They wanted to make sure, you know, if it was going to still leak, they'd do the surgery, or if it would just like dry up on its own. So visiting hours were done at 7. You know,
7 p.m.
And like they let us stay because we were in the emergency room until like 8:30. But then they were like, "Okay, we're taking you to your room. You gotta go."
They were about to admit me and put me into like an actual,
which was
ICU room.
Scary. I thought for sure they'd let me stay, but no. So we decided to stay at a hotel near the hospital so that we could get there.
They won't let us stay.
No, they won't let us stay there because she's conscious and alert, and she can talk and. Do everything. She still has her neck brace on because the specialist hasn't been in to see her, right? It's just the guy who's in the emergency.
Right.
And he will be there tomorrow morning to do his assessment and an ear specialist to make sure there's no other little underlying things going on with her ear. The biggest fear right now is that because of this fracture, and she had a seizure, she might then continue to have seizures later. And so they're going to watch her overnight, but, you know, I don't know.
What we're hoping to hear then from the CT tomorrow is that there was no further bleeding.
Right, no more bleeding.
Right, so she'll heal on her own.
That means there's no surgery or anything like that. It would just be...
No changes.
Right.
She's holding.
Be very... I don't even know. I don't know what the things are now moving forward. So, her parents are driving here. They're driving like 7 hours about to meet us in the morning, and then that's when we're gonna have another CAT scan to double check the bleeding has stayed the same or like not progressed. I don't know. All right, we're gonna try to get a little bit of sleep before we have to get up real early and get over there.
So you showed up at 7 a.m.
You hadn't gotten
Nobody
a CT
had
scan.
given me a CT scan
and
yet.
And the doctor came in.
And the neurologist
he's like,
came
I looked at both your CT scans, like you got the new one.
Yeah.
But it was from the previous hospital.
Yeah.
And they looked the same.
And I was like, no one has touched me today. No one's done anything.
So we had him write in another one.
Order a new
CT scan. And then he checked everything else, and he's just like, you know, your fractures aren't terrible. The one side's barely, and then the side you hit is the one we're focusing on. Mm-hmm. But it's just time. We can't really do anything. The only thing is the ear, and if it dries up, you're okay. It's just rest.
Yeah.
So here's Julie. They got her all plugged in. They just took her neck brace off. But you can see she's still got a little bit of a ear leak here.
I'm not allowed to get up yet, so I have to pee in a
pee trot, little pee pan. Yeah.
Yeah, and they weren't letting me sit up, so I just had to pee like this, which means I peed all over my butt. And then they had to clean me up.
Oh no. Yeah, at least you didn't have to go number 2 yet.
Yeah.
All right. That's when it was like, okay, we kind of did this little song and dance with like pain management.
So they put me on narcotics for 2 days, and I couldn't
barely open her
keep my
eyelids.
eyes open.
They looked like they were 100 pounds. And so it was just a lot of sleep. You couldn't even like sit up. You couldn't do anything. You'd get real dizzy. You'd get nauseous. You'd throw up. You couldn't eat.
I couldn't even, I was drinking water and then vomiting all the water up.
The first 2 days were pretty rough, but then, you know, the third day came around and you reduced your pain meds a little bit and you were up a little longer. You know, like you were able to get up and pee on your own, and maybe they had you walk or something, because by that point they're like, you got to use the restroom.
The third day, yeah.
The fourth day she was really hoping to get out, right? And
yeah, I
didn't.
had it in my head that, you know, I was on Tylenol, I was peeing by myself,
still
my
wasn't
nausea
eating
was
a lot.
subsided a
Yeah.
little bit, and I was convinced that they would let me go.
But the doctor
And they
said,
didn't.
no, you know, you're still not quite there.
Day 4 and I still haven't pooped. They won't let me leave until I poop.
Hopefully today we have a little luck. So that's when you like really kicked it into gear. You're like, I'm getting out of here. You started eating, you ordered all your meals. You took a shower. Then you started going and walking around, like a physical therapist saw you walked.
This is not a leash for your sister, okay?
Yeah.
The nurse was letting you walk around, you opened doors, you did stairs, you
I
were
was
downing
like,
water
I
to
am
get off the
getting
IV.
out of here.
Yeah.
Yay! Time to like celebrate.
Yeah.
We need some like pom-poms and fireworks.
And an ear specialist came in and checked it out real quick and said she had punctured her eardrum. She has a hole in it, a small little hole, and like don't get any moisture in there. So we now have little wax plugs that go in there. That day was like a huge difference. It was like the biggest change in your attitude and like ability to get up and do stuff.
I'm gonna get up really early in the morning and I'm gonna sit cross-legged and I'm gonna wait for my neurologist to come. And I'm gonna tell him that I'm awake, and that I didn't take any narcotics, and that I ate all my food and I drank all my water and I pooped and I peed and I'm ready to go home. Please let me go home.
Day 5 was it. That was the final day, and they discharged you. All right, what's happening
I'm getting discharged.
after how many days?
5 days.
All right, she's on her way down. Should be picking her up any minute. You made it.
It's really loud. My sensory.
You're overloading?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then came back here to my mom and aunt's place, which is where we've been. Cannonball. It's been about, I don't know, a little over a week since Julie had her incident, and she's getting pretty close to normal. I mean, she still can't really hear very well out of her right ear.
See if I can't wash my hair now.
All right, good luck.
All right, see you later.
She's taking pain meds to regulate her headaches and whatnot on a regular basis, and she still has like sensitivity to light and noise. But we're kind of getting into more of a normal routine. We're just taking it super easy.
You gonna come back to me?
Here it comes.
Come on, Bubba.
Onto your side. So Julie can't do any like high energy or any like physically demanding exercising, so we've been coming up with ways to be active around here. And what's your tool of choice here?
Oh, this is a fire poker.
Log roller.
Yeah, that's what we got.
And she's also having to take a step back from working on the van. But that doesn't mean she's not going to be helping. She's just taking on a different role, more of a supervisor, I guess.
Looks good.
So that kind of brings us back to the original video we were trying to make. You know, it's been 9 months now and the van still isn't done. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I thought, you know, Julie's accident is a prime example. of the reasons why the van isn't done yet. Nothing has gone to plan. Converting a van is a lot of work, and so is life in general. You know, on top of us doing this van, we're also having to work to earn money in order to pay our bills and feed ourselves, and we've been in the process of dissolving my shoe company.
We've also moved from Colorado to Indiana.
Yeah, so here we are back home, my home, for the next few months in order to wrap this thing up. And in order to do that, we've decided to start releasing a video once every 3 weeks or so instead of every 2 or 1, because it takes a lot of work. You know, I will put an entire week into producing a video when right now we really need to put our focus on the van. Look at that. Fridge. Gonna go in here. Plates and cups and stuff. Storage with a cooktop. Our little electric oven's gonna go here. More storage. We got our bench tops in. Some flooring underneath here. Our ceiling is in, which we've shown before. And the plumbing is pretty much set. It's all loosey-goosey right now. And, you know, we gotta get the sink outfitted. By the end of the week, there should be some walls up, and this should be prepped for a sliding table. Our countertops should be in the works. And then we gotta tackle this big pain in the butt of a bathroom. You know, once the van is done and we're back on the road, our plan is to kind of put extra attention and go full force into creating more content for the channel in order to really give this our all, a big push to try to make it so it's more of a full-time thing that can support us.
And we also want to make sure that we get some free time, which is why we wanted to take the day to go skating and swimming and fishing.
Yeah.
Because it feels like sometimes we get so focused on working on the van and
getting content
even
out.
doing computer work,
Yeah.
and editing, that you know, we don't take time for ourselves to have mental health and get outside and be in the sun.
And yeah, it's a bit of a bummer we can't go do crazy high impact activities right now, but that doesn't mean we can't still have fun. We can still go outside and enjoy some sunshine. Watch movies with the family, play a board game or two.
I might win.
Let's all go together. You in front.
Everybody kill him.
8.
Wham.
Head
Yeah.
goes flying. Spend some time with the pets. Oh, what are you doing, Rob?
And, you know, still have some fun, because it's really important through all the ups and downs to, you know, maintain some positivity and try and stay on the bright side of things.
And Julie, for now, we think will have a full recovery, and she will get all of her hearing back, and we'll be able to do the things we planned on doing and get back on the road and have our crazy adventures and activities. But she might have to wear a helmet, maybe one that's a little more properly fitted.
We're really thankful for everyone that's stuck with us and followed along, because we have some big things to come.
Yeah,
You know,
we
when
do.
we
We really have
wrap
big
up the van and we
goals.
get on the road.
Uh-huh.
That's when you guys are really gonna get to see
who we are.
some good stuff.
So for all of you who have been here and who've continued to be here, we really appreciate it. You know, growing a channel is super difficult, and we're not doing it in the most stereotypical or, I don't know, proven way to grow a channel. And you know, maybe when we do start to release more content, we'll see some growth, but maybe not. But we're still at least gonna give it a try. And everybody who is on Patreon, I did give you guys a little update of what had happened prior, and I just want to say thank you guys for all the kind comments and for being here and supporting us. You're the whole reason why we're still able to continue with this van build and doing all the finishings and stuff like that. So thank you. Until the next video, we'll see you guys soon. Hopefully she's a little louder and can hear a little better, and the light won't be as harsh at that point for her. Okay guys,
All right.
bye-bye.
There's people next door to me that keep yelling. Last night somebody was yelling, "Excuse me, are you out there? Are you out there?" And it really freaked me out. Because I am out there.